Okay, Luke lovers, Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11, and then John 21. So what I want you to do is read Luke 5, 1 through 11, and have your finger in John 21. We're going to jump over there at the end. Go ahead and pause and read, and we'll break it down in a second. Okay, so chapter 4, Jesus tells us his mission. Luke 4, 18 and 19, Jesus says, "Look, I've come to help the poor, the prisoner, the blind, the oppressed." That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on this planet. The crowds are coming to him. We got all kinds of examples in chapter 4 of Jesus doing just that. Now in chapter 5, Jesus is going to do it again with this guy named Peter, or Simon. And then Simon is going to be called to be one of Jesus' disciples. Now, this story in Luke is very different from the other Gospels, which have Jesus walking on the beach, and he sees them fixing their nets, and he says, "Hey, follow me," and they drop their nets and they follow Jesus. So maybe this story is a little bit more added on to those stories, or it's actually a totally different occasion. We don't really know for sure. But here's what we know. By the end of this story, Peter is in. Now, real quick, Jesus is a rabbi. Jesus isn't just a rabbi or teacher. He is the most famous teacher going around the countryside because everybody's flocking to him, and he's got his mega church. And so little Jewish boys would go to school, and if they were smart enough, they would keep graduating up through, and eventually they would be chosen by a rabbi to be a disciple of that rabbi. If they didn't quite cut the mustard, they'd be back home carpentrying or fishing or making tents or whatever it is their daddy did. So, disciples were chosen. You would never walk up to a rabbi and go, "Hey, looking for disciples?" You wouldn't do that. That would be shameful. Disciples are chosen. A rabbi can choose the best disciples he can get his hands on. Jesus can pretty much, he's got his pick of the Lord. Everybody should want to be his disciple. I mean, this guy's going around casting out demons and healing people. So, who is Jesus going to pick? Is he going to pick the best of the best, the smartest of the smart? No, he's going to pick a fisherman named Peter on the Sea of Galilee. A dirty, stinky job, touching dead fish, which most good Jewish boys shouldn't even be doing. And so, that's who Jesus is going to pick. An everyday guy. Here's how it happens. Jesus is preaching on the beach. Crowds are pushing. He's like, I got to get out of there. Oh, there's Simon's boat. So, random. Is it just this random coincidence that Simon's boat is sitting there on the sea and Jesus just happens to get into Simon's boat, just like he just happened to go to Simon's house and heal Simon's mother-in-law back in chapter 4? No, of course not. So Jesus is in Simon's boat. He gets done preaching, and he's sitting there and he says, "Simon, let's go do some fishing. I'm hungry. I need dinner." So Simon's like, "You know what, Jesus? We've been fishing all night, and we are professional fishermen, and you are a carpenter. Remember? If we were building shelves, I'd be with you." And then Simon, "Yeah, but this guy did heal my mother-in-law. So, all right, since it's you, master," he calls him master. In other words, patron-client, like we talked about. And so Peter's the client, Simon's the client, and he says, "All right, I owe Jesus one. All right, let's go." They go out, they cast down their nets, and what happens? What did you read? Big catch of fish. There's a fly right there in my face. So, big catch of fish. And Peter's reaction, verse 8. Look at Peter's reaction. Simon, when he saw this, he falls down in front of Jesus and he says, "Go away from me, for I am sinful." When Simon is confronted with the power of God, he sees himself as sinful. It's the first half of the gospel. I am more wicked than I ever imagined. Simon did not wake up that morning going, "Wow, I'm really wicked. I'm just a busted up dude." But when he is confronted with the Christ, when he is confronted with the power of God, he sees his sinfulness. He sees how bad he really is. Like Isaiah, in chapter 6 of Isaiah, when the heavens open and he sees God on his throne, and Isaiah says, I'm unclean, I'm a man of unclean lips. And here Peter has a very similar experience, not in a throne room of God, but on a boat full of stinky fish. Jesus has taken himself from the throne room to the fisherman's boat. He's standing in a pile of dead fish, and he's being worshipped. He's being worshipped on a boat full of dead fish. And Jesus looks at him and says, you're right, Peter, you are a mess. You are a sinner, but I love you. Don't be afraid. I want you to be part of what I'm doing. And that's our takeaway for today. Peter, don't be afraid. From now on, you're going to catch men. Peter, I'm gonna change you from a fisherman into my disciple. I'm choosing you to be a part of my mission, to catch the poor, to catch the prisoner, the blind, and the oppressed. Peter had to become poor before he could do this. He had to be one of those poor people. And now that he is, because of that experience, he realized his own spiritual poverty, and now he's ready to be a disciple. And guys, you're never going to be a disciple of Christ until you, too, realize how poor you are. And you can be invited into Christ's mission, his mission to the poor. Now, John 21. Go ahead and turn over to John 21, because here we're going to see how the gospel changes Peter. Peter, first half of the gospel, you're more wicked than you ever imagined. But second half, you're more loved than you ever dared believe. In John 21, Peter, this is after Jesus has died, after Jesus has come back to life, and Peter's out fishing. Peter's given up. He figures, I'm done. I've abandoned Christ. Remember the story, Peter denied Christ 3 times. Jesus shows up on the beach again. And Jesus calls out to Peter. He's gone back to fishing. I'm done being a disciple. I'm going back to fishing. And he calls out to Peter, friends, have you caught anything? No. Throw your nets out one more time. And they do it. And another great catch occurs. And go ahead and read it. John 21, it's like the first 10, 11 verses again. And notice Peter's response this time. He actually jumps out of the boat into the water and swims as fast as he can to Jesus. The first time it happened, Peter said, Jesus, get away from me. Get away from me, Lord. The second time it happens, Peter's, Jesus, come here. No, wait, I'll come to you. And he jumps right into that water and he swims to Jesus. That is showing that the gospel is working on Peter. He's beginning to get it. He's moved from the first half of the gospel, I'm wicked, to there's a chance, I'm loved. Jesus is back. Jesus came back for me. I'm loved. And if you keep reading John 21, Jesus goes through that dialogue with Peter. Peter, do you love me? Yeah, I love you. Feed my sheep. And Peter is restored to ministry at that point. So, what about us? How many fish have you caught lately? Are you even fishing? If you are a disciple, you are invited into Jesus' ministry to the poor, the prisoner, the blind, the oppressed. And your job is to go out and catch them. How we doing? All right, we'll pick it up there next time. Have a good day.